Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the open session of the Coventry School Committee. I have 7:08. If you could rise for the Pledge of Allegiance, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And if you could remain standing for a moment of silence as we consider the work before us this evening. You may be seated. And Mr. Levis, if you could notify the public of the emergency exits, please.
Sure. In case of an emergency, there are exits to your rear. Go out the exits and take a left or a right to the outside of the building. Thank you.
Thank you. And if Mr. Florio, if you could honor us with reading the mission statement for Coventry Public Schools.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The Coventry Public Schools, with community partnerships, educate, inspire, and motivate students to be lifelong learners.
Thank you.
You're welcome, Madam Chair.
And just to notify the public, before this meeting, the school committee met in executive session for about an hour, and we did, in fact, talk about a few things and had some votes. All of our votes were unanimous. The first one was for our homeschooling request. We also had a request for a foreign exchange student, and we also had a student appeal that we denied unanimously. So they were all 4-0 votes. That being said, is there a motion to seal the minutes of the executive session?
Madam Chair, I make a motion to seal the minutes of the executive session.
Oh, I forgot the executive session minutes, too, that we approved 4-0. Sorry about that.
19.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Chair votes aye. Any opposed? The ayes have it. Motion carries.
And Madam Chair, I
4-0.
make a motion that the records of the executive session this evening be kept closed pursuant to sections 42-46-4 and 42-46-5.
Second the motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Chair votes aye. Any opposed? The ayes carries. Motion carries 4-0. Moving on to the approval of our open minutes meeting, our minutes of our open meeting of 4/25/19. Is there a motion?
Madam Chair, I make a motion to approve the minutes of the open meeting of April 25th, 2019 as presented/amended.
Second the motion.
Any questions from the committee? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Chair votes aye. Any opposed? The ayes have it. Motion carries 4-0. Moving on to personnel, classified retirement. Mr. Levis, did you want to speak to any of these?
Sure. Just to the first one, Miss Susan Andrews. Do you mind if I read her?
Yeah, go ahead.
Susan Andrews has been employed by the Coventry School Department since 1991. Many of these years were spent working with students with significant needs. Sue has a special gift which allows her to build trusting relationships with students who may face many challenges in life. She has been the backbone of the work-study program for the life skills students. She has many roles in the classroom, does all of them seamlessly. Sue has impacted the lives of so many students throughout her career. Both teachers and students were so fortunate to have Sue in their classroom. She has always given her best to Coventry students. She will certainly be missed. It is now time for Sue to enjoy her retirement years with her family and friends. We wish her the very best.
Thank you. Is there a motion?
Madam Chair, I make a motion to approve the resignation of Susan Andrews, 6.5 hour/day intensive support teacher assistant at Coventry High School, effective June 14th, 2019, for the purpose of retirement.
Second the motion.
Any further questions from the committee? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Chair votes aye. Any opposed? The ayes have it. Motion carries 4-0. Is she here? I don't think so. No.
Okay.
Moving on to Michelle DeRemo. Is there a motion?
Madam Chair, I make a motion to approve the resignation of Michelle DeRemo, psychologist at Coventry High School, effective June 30th, 2019.
Second the motion.
Any questions from the committee? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Chair votes aye. Any opposed? The ayes have it. Motion carries 4-0. Moving on to the certified leave of absence. Is there a motion?
Madam Chair, I make a motion to approve a leave of absence without pay for Scott Levitt, carpentry teacher at the Regional Center and Tech Center at Coventry High School for the 2019-2020 school year.
I second the motion.
Any questions from the committee? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Chair votes aye. Any opposed? The ayes have it. Motion carries 4-0. Now we can move into the public agenda, and just so everyone in the public understands, the following agenda items are open to public discussion. If there's a motion from the committee and we are going to vote on something, then we do bring it out to the public, and you can ask questions about that particular issue or give your opinion or whatever. That being said, we're going to move on to agenda item number 7, the best part of our meetings, which is the celebrations. In this case, it's the Alan Sean Feinstein Middle School and Coventry High School unified teams. And Mr. Levis?
Sure. So I'd like to ask Coach McKenna, Coach McGovern, if you guys don't mind coming up to the microphone up here. So obviously we didn't rehearse this. This is on. Hey, thank you so much.
My pleasure.
Not that I have favorites, right? I mean, but I just am so impressed with, one of the things that we focused on, and I know I need to talk to the school committee, but I need to talk to the audience. One of the things that we've focused on, and it's part of our strategic plan, is really having an all students agenda. And we say all students, we mean everybody. And I was fortunate when I was in Smithfield, we were one of the first schools to have one of the unified basketball teams. So individuals that play Special Olympics, play sports, but now you get to play for your high school, for your middle school. And to see parents being able, for me, it wasn't just seeing the students, but seeing parents able to come and cheer for their student wearing a high school uniform, a middle school uniform is just amazing. I mean, I can't watch a game, and I'm a big guy, I'm 270 pounds, 57, but I can't watch one of these games without being teary-eyed. And because it's so incredible to see the camaraderie, see the support, to see I was at the middle school a couple of weeks ago, and the cheerleaders, you must have 30 cheerleaders up there doing a halftime show. And so we just wanted to celebrate just everything that everybody does, our athletes, our partners. You exemplify, at least for me, everything that's good about education, everything that's good about community, everything that's good about Coventry. And so we just made some certificates. And I don't know if I'd like you guys to say a few words, and then we can ask the athletes to come up, the partners come up as we call their name, and then they can quickly swing by and shake the hands of the school committee. And we just, again, want to thank you. I can't tell you how proud I am as superintendent. It's just as an individual. It's, the highlight of any day is when I can go in and just see the camaraderie and the leadership that you guys provide to our schools. And I want to thank the parents and our staff that support this. It's just, I know I'm not speechless, but I know, Owen, right? But I can't say, there's nothing that makes me more proud than when I see what everybody's come together. And again, like I said, I can't thank these two gentlemen. I know Mr. Ruffalo, and I know there are other individuals here that support that, so I don't want to exclude anybody. So I'm done.
I just want to speak briefly about the 3 years that we have had middle school unified sports. I mean, it came together very quickly, and in the 3 short years that we've had unified, it has grown just unbelievably beautiful in the middle school. We have a waiting list for kids each year to sign up to be facilitators for our athletes, and I think that is a credit to the administration, Joe Lucian, Ms. Norbelucci, Ms. Goodwin, fostering that environment so that we could have this type of program in our school. And Mr. Levis is a huge advocate, as you all know, for unified athletics. So, and I think it's a great building block. So when the kids leave the middle school, we hand them off to Steve McKenna at the high school, and I'm looking at several students that have played for us in the prior years, and they're now up at the high school, and they've grown and they've matured, and they just look outstanding sitting here today. So for myself, I couldn't run my program without Miss Christine Conklin, Miss Kristen Squires, and Miss Sam Taylor. I could not do this program without them, and I I don't consider myself the head coach for all the head coaches because we all have a specific role. So, you know, with that being said, I just want to thank my administration, Mr. Levis, for continuing to force a unified
Okay, everything he said. I would like to thank the school committee and Superintendent Levis for inviting us here tonight. I've been in the town of Coventry as a teacher since, I think I started subbing in 1988. And I've taught in the elementary schools, the middle schools, at the high school, and I've taught and coached a lot of kids over the years. This is by far the best program I've ever been involved in, without a doubt. At Coventry High School, I tell this story around the state whenever I get to tell somebody about unified basketball. At Coventry High School, at the end of the day, approximately 150 to 200 kids descend upon our locker room. And they play whatever sport it may be, and it might be in season, or they may have friends that are playing a sport, and they might not be in season, but they all come to the locker room at the end of the day. They want to see their friends that they didn't see in class. They want to check in with what's going on. And I've walked through that locker room so many times and heard the conversations. And now I walk through the locker room and I hear Owen get the same question that the starting fullback on the football team gets. Do you have a game today? Do you have practice today? Did you win your last game? Are you on the road today, or are you at home? And that couldn't have happened before unified basketball and unified sports came to the town of Coventry. So we talk about inclusion, and we talk about everybody being equal. And in our program and in our high school, where we have such great support, Brooke's sitting here, Lou Ruffalo, who's our school psychologist, we truly treat everybody the same, and everybody has the same opportunity in our building. And unified basketball has just been a tremendous example of that. And I want to just publicly thank all the people who have supported us throughout the last, I think, 9 years. 9 years. So I took over in the second year. So it's been eight years for me and 9 years overall. We lost a big game last week. At the high school, we get a little more competitive. And we play, usually we end up in the top division. We have 2 Division I state championship banners hanging in high school. More than two people that were involved in those championships. So it gets a little bit competitive. And we lost a big game the other day to Woonsocket by 1 point. And at the end of those games, I say the same thing. Up until 8 years ago, none of our kids ever had the opportunity to know what it feels like to lose a big game, because they never got to play in one. And now they get to play in one, and when 2 teams come together and there's refs on the floor and there's scoreboard on the wall and there's people at the table keeping score, it gets competitive. And now a kid that never had a chance has the opportunity to know what it feels like to win and to lose. And you got to know how to do both of those things in life. And at Coventry High School, we do a good job of trying to teach kids what it's like to experience and deal with and live with each of those. And these kids sitting in these chairs tonight are examples of people who have done exactly that. So I want to take the time again to say thank you to the school committee.
So we're going to I don't know how this will work, but we'll make it work. I'm going to call individuals' names.
That's how we won 2 state championships. But we don't know how it's going to work. We just
between you and me, that's my strategy every day, you know? Don't tell anybody, though. So we're going to call everybody up. I'd like to come up, shake our hands, and then we can kind of swing around and shake everybody's hands up there and see how we can make this go, okay? Does that sound like a plan?
Yeah.
All right, Haley O'Brien. Working. All right.
Working.
So we might be a little short.
That's okay. Cameron Hargis.
Give me 5.
Tim, I'm Mr. Levitt, I'm gonna give you a certificate.
Okay.
All right? You got that?
Yep.
You wanna shake other people's hands here?
Yeah.
All right.
All right. Let's
All
go
right.
this way. Bobby, come on. This is, all right, Bobby's got you, okay?
Got it?
All right. He's used to Bobby.
Rachel Van Nostrand? Rachel here? Working, all right. Katarina Capiza?
Congratulations, Cam.
Congratulations.
Congratulations, Cam. Who is, otherwise engaged, I think.
Bobby Archibald.
He's great. He's been great too.
Bobby, we'll wait till you come back.
I don't understand your show.
I don't have a show.
There is another boy who's not here tonight, Tommy O'Brien, but every year, the Interscholastic League and Special Olympics get together and they pick 2 people out of all of the unified teams in the state. There are over 30, I think there are over 34 teams at the high school level. They pick 2 kids to be the outstanding partners for the Unified League that year, 2019, Bobby Ashenbo and Tommy O'Brien.
Brandon Utner.
Right here.
Hey, Brandon. Stephen Byrne, where's Stephen? John Barry.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Congratulations. Ashton Briggs.
Thank you.
Thank you. We still apply. Brendan Dowling. Working.
Oh, working.
Unemployment rate is very low, so. At least somebody laughs at that. Matthew Selly's not here. Eric Gonzalez.
Eric,
Matthew Vega.
Congratulations.
Tommy O'Brien.
Congratulations.
Owen Ross. Shauna Sharpentier. Nick Faleka.
Nick's working.
Congratulations.
David Pulsifer. Chris Strang. Devin Favino.
Hey, Chris.
Congratulations, Devin.
All right, guys, this is Devin. There you go. Say hello, Devin.
Hi,
Nick
Kevin.
Perry.
Congratulations.
Come on, buddy.
Good job.
Hi, Devin, congratulations.
High five, Devin. High five.
Noah Andrew.
Hey, one more.
Oh my God.
Shake hands, okay?
Congratulations.
Tyler Osberg.
Congratulations.
job, Noah. Good job. Nice job, Noah.
Congratulations.
Hi,
Congratulations.
Congratulations.
N-E-V-A-E-H.
Nevaeh.
Nevaeh Perel. Nevaeh here? All right.
Nevaeh was heavy back.
Tino Elmida. Michael Ferguson. Caitlin Lima.
Congratulations, Mike. Wow. You son, quite an intake.
Thank you, Caitlin. Thanks for coming. Thanks for participating. Logan Frost.
Congratulations, honey.
Thomas Gaskin.
Congratulations.
Congratulations.
Aiden Petrin. Congratulations. Thank you. Jared Utner.
Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
Congratulations.
Liana Petrin. LJ St. Germain.
I got surgery on it.
Samantha Brother. Thank you. Keenan Harry.
Thank you.
Angelina Cabral. Not here. Emily Smith. Congratulations, Emily. Thank you. Courtney True. Abby Fraser. Alex Maynard.
Hold on.
We'll come to her.
Donna? Yeah, absolutely.
Mr. McCann has one more thing to say, and we're going to just thank everybody for coming. And
So like everything else in the world, this takes money. So I just want to tell you about another endeavor that we got involved in at the high school this year. We did the Unified Plunge. The Unified Plunge was sponsored by Special Olympics and all Unified Champion schools, of which I think there are about 36 high schools. And you try to get as many kids as you can involved through unified sports and unified programs in your high school to do the plunge, which was held this year on March 23rd at Salty Brine State Beach. And Coventry High School raised $13,500. out a little, they were at about 14,000, but between the two schools who have embraced unified sports and embraced Project Unified, which we have in the building, we raised more money than all of the other schools in the state put together. And this is the first year that Special Olympics is going to give. They used to keep the money that they raised. Now that money is going to come back into our programs so that we can grow and strengthen the unified programs that we have in the building now. We have a great student body that's involved promoting this in areas other than just unified sports. So I wanted to get that out there for everybody too, because
I like to piggyback on what Mr. Mack just said, because in our 3 short years at the middle school doing Unified, this is our 2nd year of also doing the polar plunge. We are slowly building up our participation in the middle school. So we didn't quite meet the 14,000, 13,000, but we had about $1,400 that we fundraised. So we're getting there. So we're just trying to make a collaborative community.
And can I just ask all the parents, I know some are probably standing already, but could you please stand, the parents of the Unified Partners, please? Thank you. Because without your support, you know, and I always say people come to me and say, thanks for doing this, and I tell them, I get paid to do this. But as parents, I'm glad you laughed at that too. So. But seriously, as parents, we couldn't do this without you, and I've been to the games and I see the support, and we just, you know, for the school committee, for myself, for this community, we just want to thank you that you have amazing children, amazing young adults, and couldn't thank you enough. So thank you very much.
I think my smile muscles hurt from smiling so much. This was just a wonderful celebration. I don't know if the rest of the school committee wants to say a few words, but I'm going to pass it down to them just to thank you all for coming. Do you want to say anything?
You guys are great. You did unbelievable. Hi, Charlie. You're also in the ROTC, aren't you? Besides this. Charlie? Chris, I'm sorry, Chris. You're in the ROTC too, right? Yeah. Yeah, really good. You guys, you're awesome. And so are the parents. It's
and our teachers.
Very
and
good.
our other
And
students.
the teachers.
Everybody.
Everybody is superintendent. I mean, Dennis McGovern. They're all awesome.
All right, pass it on.
Pass it on.
I'll be brief. I just want to thank you all. I said it at the last Unified. I'll say it again. You exemplify what is best about our school system, and it's humbling when you come in front of us. And I'm in awe of all the work you've done, the money you've raised. You should be very proud of that, and I know you are. So, thank you very much.
James?
I'll be briefer. Thank you all for coming, and I hope all of you, everyone in the room, should be just proud of all the hard work you do. It's fantastic. Thank you.
You do it. Yeah, of course.
So we usually, when students come before us for celebrations, we usually do let them go early. So if you wanted to be dismissed, you're more than welcome. We do have another celebration if you want to just wait for that, which might be nice to have you all here. But after that, you can leave with your parents or whatever. So the next celebration is the Coventry High School education students signing ceremony. So Mr. Levis, would you like to take that?
Sure. So I just, and we have 8 students that are graduating this year from Coventry High School that are going to go into an education-related field. And as you guys know, and as all of our athletes and our partners know, that how important it is for the educators, the teachers that you have in school, and the difference they make in your life. We have 8 young individuals that are choosing to go into the profession. And I thought, you know, what better than have our current district teacher of the year, Ms. Kerry Potvin, We have former Milken Award winner, extraordinary teacher, Miss Sue Tui K. And then more recently, Milken Award winner I think it was 2018, 2017, Mrs. Lauren Hopkins from the high school. So I asked, and I can't think of any better role model. So again, we pulled this together, and they're going to kind of facilitate the ceremony. And we have some certificates, some materials, and then after we hand out the certificates, if people could come back up again for the school committee. If you guys could just speak into one of the mics so it's recorded, so that people that are watching could hear.
Right there.
So we have a mic there.
We absolutely will. We are organizing to make sure everyone gets the right pin and, and the right certificate.
Hello, everyone. As Coventry's 2018 District Teacher of the Year, I'm honored to be here tonight to recognize our inspiring educators. This recognition is given to graduating seniors who are pursuing a career in education at a Rhode Island-approved preparation program. Coventry Public Schools, in conjunction with Rhode Island Department of Education and Rhode Island Office of Innovation, sponsor this recognition award in order to elevate the teaching profession and shine light on the excellence and dedication of Rhode Island teachers. The work of an educator can be life-changing. Teachers shape the future, bringing the world to students and inviting them to interact and engage within their world in a meaningful way. I'm certain that the recipients of this esteemed recognition can attest to their own personal experiences that led each of them to this honorable profession. It is with this in mind that we honor tonight's awardees. Julie Bergehan, Salve Regina University. Caitlin Dove, University of Rhode Island. Carly Calais, Rhode Island College. Nathan Macomber, University of Rhode Island. Abigail Medeiros, University of Rhode Island. There is a recipient tonight who couldn't be here with us, Troy Osterhout, who is also going to University of Rhode Island. Megan Robillard, University of Rhode Island. And finally, Annabella Rosa, Rhode Island College. The Department of Ed asked if you could take one picture of all of the recipients in their swag bags.
Can we get them, can they come up and just shake the hand of the committee first, and they can stand up here and have a picture? Is that okay?
That's good.
Fabulous.
Yes.
Thank you.
you.
Congratulations. Thank you.
Congratulations.
Good luck at Rhode Island College.
Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
Congratulations. Good luck.
Hey, congratulations. Good seeing you.
Congratulations. Good luck.
Congratulations. Congratulations, Megan.
Congratulations.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Congratulations. Good luck. Congratulations.
Good luck at my alma mater.
And now you guys all need a picture out there, so. You guys might want to just come up here. Do you want to come up on the stage and sort of make a semicircle, and then they can get a great picture? We're sitting down.
We're sitting down. We're not going to be in the picture.
We're away.
Yeah, we're hiding behind.
Hiding.
Yeah, I'm going.
Yeah, I'm going away too.
Wait a minute. Whoa.
I don't know if the school committee, individual members wanted to say anything. Keep it brief there, Mr. Florio. Anything?
Great work. Great work. Good luck in your collegiate careers. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Murray?
Same here. Thank you very much. And I always think what I do is pretty interesting and great until I talk to my brother, who's also a teacher, and many of the other teachers who have such an impact on the lives of our youth. So great selection and good luck.
Name?
Good luck and Godspeed. Future educators come back to Coventry and teach. That's all I can say.
Congratulations to all of you. I don't think we could be prouder for both of our celebrations tonight, and for our future teachers, good luck. You're aspiring to do the best work that can be done to educate our kids and make a society that's worth living in. So it's a noble profession, and I was trained to be a teacher, but I only spent 1 year teaching. Being on school committee, I feel like I've come back to my roots just a little bit. That's why I do the work I do here. But I certainly admire and respect the profession, and good luck to all of you. A lot of hard work. And finally, if there's anyone here that would like to speak, a parent or a teacher who would like to make any comments before we dismiss our honorees from this evening. Anybody have a last word? Again, I want to thank all the parents for coming for both celebrations, and for all the teachers for all your support. We couldn't ask for a better group of folks. So I don't see anybody who wants to say anything, so I guess you guys can leave. To the students, or stay. The students, go home and do your homework. So thank you so much for coming.
Yeah.
Is she here?
Yes. Eric is in the track.
Yeah, there's so many people here.
I don't know if they have questions.
It's sad to see them all go, but I have to let them go. I have to. I can't make them sit here. They'd all be itching, and they'd be trying to sort of slink out, you know. By the way, you guys didn't shake our hands.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. You know,
Thanks for coming. Thank you very much.
so much. What's your name?
Steve.
I am so happy that you guys do this.
Steve McKenna?
And make sure we know about the plunge, because even if I don't do it, but I'm thinking about it.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Thank you. That's great.
You donate the same amount of money and you throw a rubber chicken in the ocean.
That sounds like something
good idea.
You guys have a good day this year.
That'll kill a whale,
That's the
though.
way to do it. Yeah, I think I could do a chicken one.
Yes, Alex is at the, yes, through Dennis.
Oh, wait a minute, sorry. Yeah, the other one.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Her younger sister's mine. Right.
Okay. Good school. Good school. My alma mater.
Honey, John, you're a laugh a minute.
Take care.
All right, thanks. I'll get it right.
I think it's Rick and Victor.
No, that's okay.
Okay.
Oh, I see her.
Yeah, she's in the back.
I can send you my electronic signature. I have it. Okay. But can you email me and remind me and send it to you? And I will do that. All right. I do have it in electronic form. It's a little picture. You just have to kind of.
Okay. Huh?
Where's the gavel?
I know, I don't have a gavel, but I. All right, I'd like to continue our meeting if we could. Hello? So we still have some more business to do. Thank you so much. We'll see you guys later. Thank you. So I'd like to move agenda item 13 to the front so that Erica and her, excuse me, can also leave without staying here till the very end of the meeting. So 13 is the field trip, and you saw it in your reference. Mr. Levis, did you want to talk about this?
Yeah, just that we've talked about, this is, we have a form that's called field trip, but these are students that have won competitions and are going to be going at a much higher level. So that we definitely want to, support them. They're going to North Carolina because they've earned the right through competition to go there. And so I asked Erica to come if there's any questions from the committee, but I, suggest that we approve this trip for her and her athletes.
All right, were there any questions from the committee? Are we ready to move? Is there a motion?
Madam Chair, I make a motion to approve a field trip for the boys and girls track and field team to travel to AT&T Stadium, North Carolina from June 12, 2019 to June 16, 2019.
Second the motion?
Any questions from the committee? Any questions from the citizens gathered? Any comments from Erica? Okay. I think so.
Just submit their names to us, I believe.
Yeah. Cool. All right. All in favor?
Aye.
Chair votes aye. Any opposed? The ayes have it. Motion carries 4-0. Thank you. Have fun. Sorry. Can I have one of those?
Sure.
One is fine.
Oh, wow. That one's already.
Is this a butterscotch, I hope? Always coughing on this microphone. Allergies, I guess. Moving on to number 9, which is the discussion on solar energy for our district. Mr. Levis, did you want to take that?
Yeah, I just, also Mr. Murray can feel free to jump in, but we have Mr. Christopher Kearns here. I don't know, Chris, if you mind coming up to the microphone. Chris has been working with us. I know Mr. Murray had done a presentation or a discussion with the committee. Chris came out and met with myself, Mr. Murray, and I believe Mr. Martin. And we talked about a lot of different things around solar energy, renewable energy, and net metering. So I asked Chris if you wouldn't mind. Chris is also a Coventry resident, which I think is important. And I thought it'd be important for him to come to the committee and talk about what you do, the role you can play, what the conversations we had, just briefly, if the committee had a question, and something that we think we're going to pursue, looking at some, potentially some significant energy costs without with a minimal investment on our end. That'll save us maybe 10 or 20%. So, yeah, please do.
Sure.
So I will be brief. My name is Chris Kearns. I work with the Rhode Island Office of Energy Resources. We have started to provide technical assistance to both municipalities and school districts that want to explore the potential opportunity to tie some of their electricity load to renewable energy generation, whether it's within the district or in other parts of the state. We are currently working with the Charahoe Regional School District and separately the Exeter West Greenwich Regional School District. We started the RFP processes with the Charahoe School District back in December, January, and the Exeter West Greenwich Regional School District more recently in the February, March time period. So the way that we structured this was, they were getting approached by different solar companies saying, we can reduce your electricity bill by this dollar amount. And what we encouraged the school districts was just to issue RFPs to get as many proposals as you can get in, and then you could evaluate them. And what we have provided is the technical assistance in terms of drafting the RFPs, structuring the RFPs as to how you potentially want them. And then also the big thing that we recommend, regardless of the entity, is make sure that you have a qualified clean energy financial consultant on board to review these proposals, because it's not like a traditional, like your facility, your finance director reviews and budget costs. This is a really in the weeds type situation. So the way that we structured it is the school districts issued 2 RFPs. One RFP is for a clean energy financial consultant. The school would contract, and then a separate RFP for actual project proposals. Yeah. Now, Charahoe and Exeter were interested in getting electricity load, but not necessarily tied to any of their, in terms of building on their properties, because the state law allows you to tie a renewable energy project, but not necessarily either on the school property or even within the town the school is located in. That you could do a project could be with the Providence Schools, but the project is down in Westerly at a quarry site, yeah. And that's virtual net meter where you don't have to necessarily have the power connected to your load. So the way that we structured it was you would put out the clean energy finance RFP. We've encouraged just to put a budgetary cap of $20,000 for the service. I believe between Charahoe and Exeter, their proposals came in between $13,000 to $15,000 between their respective consultants that they contracted with. And then if you decide to proceed with a project with a renewable energy company to tie a portion of your future electricity load to a renewable, we put within that project proposal and RFP a provision that the renewable company selected by the school district would be required to fully reimburse the school committee for their fiscal expenditure tied towards that clean energy financial consultant. So the developers submit their proposal in terms of where the project will be located, what they will provide from an electricity fiscal savings to the school committee, the full reimbursement of that clean energy financial consultant. But we've also added another layer in terms of an academic piece to these projects, in terms of we want to make sure that at the end of the day, the bottom line is, first is a fiscal savings towards the school, where they're reducing their electricity long term and they have a predictable line item in their budgetary tacit that you guys have to budget for every fiscal year. Separate from that is an academic piece where we want the developers to provide some creative academic proposals for this project. So we've seen proposals where they're going to tie in software, monitor dashboards in terms of installing them into the school so the students can see that renewable system that Coventry decides to build, and it's located in Narragansett. They could see the power generation, the environmental emissions impacts of the project. Some companies offer field trips to the projects, in-house curriculum in terms of developers coming in to teach students from a science and engineering standpoint. We've seen some developers offer a multi-year academic scholarship tied to it in terms of a dollar amount that they would provide to the school committee for the school committee to use as they deem appropriate for scholarships. And we've also seen some companies propose that, okay, you're going to do a virtual net meter project. It's not going to be on the school property, but we're going to throw in a small solar system that we'll install on the school property, so there's that hands-on learning opportunity. So that's what we've been doing most recently with those 2 school districts. as Luke and his other profession, we just most recently met with the City of Warwick and the Warwick School Committee staff about them pursuing an RFP sometime this summer. So our pitch to you guys is if you're interested, and we would encourage it, we will assist you guys in drafting the RFPs. The Clean Energy Finance RFP is pretty straightforward. It's 5 pages. You're just asking for financial consultants to come in and provide proposals. It's a niche market. There's probably about 5 to 7 companies that provide that service. Separate from that is the project RFP. We've been having some preliminary conversations with the superintendent and his team regarding what do you guys want to do? You want to do a virtual net meter project potentially for the broad load, but you may have some spots on the school in terms of roofs that you at least want to say we're interested in seeing what we get. Because what we always tell schools and towns is don't be prescriptive in terms of exactly what you want. Let the market give you the proposals creatively, because they'll do all the engineering, they'll do the 3-dimensional drawings and all that free of charge. But we can structure the RFP so the town or the school is basically saying, look, we want the best fiscal savings. We want the academic piece as well. But we don't want to necessarily rule out any options. So we're going to ask for a virtual net meter project, but here are the roofs that we have access to. Here are the conditions of the roofs, and then we'll see what the market proposes to you guys. We structure it in that the clean energy finance RFPs generally on the street for 2 to 3 weeks tops, because it's pretty straightforward. And then the project RFP would be on the streets for roughly 30 days. We would want to include a pre-bid meeting with all the developers, and then also work with your facility manager at the school. So if there's school properties, particularly the roofs, that we have them have access to the facility manager. But we will assist you with drafting the RFPs, helping you respond to any questions that you have to get through addendum type questions to RFPs. We will blast the renewable RFPs out to the renewable market so we get maximum exposure for the school to these proposals. And then we will assist you guys in being basically your security blanket, so to speak, in terms of we will be with you at every meeting that you have with the developers, with the financial consultants, just to make sure that they aren't BSing, so to speak, anything, in terms of making sure that everything is checking out, and then so from start to finish, going back before the school committee with a potential project proposal after we've done the thorough review. And if you need a reference, you are welcome to reach out to the finance director in the Exeter West Greenwich School District, and then the superintendent and the finance director in Cherahoe. I'm very confident about the comments that they will get if you ask them from our services over the last 6 months. Is that a good summary?
I think excellent.
Sounds like it. Thank you, Christopher. Are there any questions from the school committee members? Dave?
No, very concise, very succinct, very clear. Thank you.
And so the only question, because I know it's been different with Cherahoe and Exeter, is that Cherahoe approved the 2 RFP process, and then as it relates to the financial consultant, they approved it in terms of the finance director could make the decision to execute a contract and then get the process started. Because what will happen is once the school has selected a qualified financial consultant, usually that RFP closes. And then generally the project RFP closes about a week or 2 afterwards. So what happens is we will do face-to-face. We would encourage face-to-face interviews with the probably top 2 or 3 financial consultants, and then whittle that down. You guys, the school makes a selection, and then from there, I suspect with our assistance, just because of the interest and potential electricity load that the school has, you'll probably get anywhere from 8 to 12 proposals from the renewable market, and then we'll review them as well. But we'll also send those to the consultant to start the review process. So we'll be with you guys from start to finish. But we will also, what we've been doing with these RFPs, just to try to be mindful of making sure that these are successful, is screening them, so to speak, in terms of any of the project proposals that you get. We want to see where do they stand with the National Grid interconnection studies. Where do they stand with the local permitting process, either with a planning or a zoning board, in terms of if they're outside of Coventry and other parts of the state? Because the last thing that you want to do is select a project that's located in a town that doesn't allow any type of development, and then you put all this effort in, then you don't have a project to showcase from. But also we can structure these RFPs to have the school make a a signal that we prefer projects in certain locations. So we can structure saying, ideally, we would like to see the projects proposals that come in through the RFP in gravel pits, in brownfields, in landfills, in commercial industrial zone lots. So you guys aren't faced with a potential dilemma of an RFP going out and then some of the sites potentially being undeveloped, like residential zones. Now, naturally, that may be the case on some of these properties, but we try to do is we never tell towns or school districts what they should do, but we suggest that you at least put that in the RFP so you send a signal to the renewable market of what your preference is for the property locations.
Cool.
But back to my point is just Chairho and their finance director was immediately able to proceed with executing a contract with that qualified financial consultant. They didn't have to go back before the school committee to get approval, whereas Exeter, West Greenwich process, they have to go back to the school committee before they could proceed with a financial consultant. So I only flagged that because I don't know what your procedural rule process is.
So the first time this was discussed, I think Mr. Murray brought this up, and if we're going to expend any funds, like we could go out for an RFP, but before we award a contract, we need to come before the school committee because they need to authorize, especially I think in terms of the dollar amount here. In fairness, Chris had sent us some drafts of the two different proposals. We haven't sat down, we haven't had a chance to look at them, and my thinking would be just to come before the committee again to make sure this is something we, as superintendent and as a committee and as director of finance, I don't want to put words in Ms. Mangiarelli's mouth, but we need to do this type of work. We need to look for cost savings. I think we talked about potentially 10 or 20%. Well, our electric bill is about $800,000 a year. So that could be potentially close to $200,000. So I think we'd be, in the way as it was explained in terms of the virtual net metering, we don't have to worry about our roofs. We don't have to worry about that. So I think, for me, it would be a pretty much, we need to do this, but I would feel comfortable because of the way this is, has been just for us getting together, looking at it, then coming one more time before the committee saying, hey, this is what we want to do, because we want to make sure they're informed, because they're the ones that have to deal with, field the questions, and then I think we can go forward. And then when the proposals come in, before we would award a proposal, we would come back before, because in reality, the way I understand it, we have to allocate the dollars, but knowing that if we, that's only going to take place if we go forward with one of the proposals, and we'll get completely reimbursed. So,
I will come back regardless. So just, if
yeah.
you guys want to do that, consult first, have me come back to give you any observations. We'll do that, whatever you guys.
Yeah, and in fairness, we have like the financial town meeting is Thursday night, which I hope to see you there, and the all day referendum's on the 16th. So we have other things that we've been addressing right now, but we're hoping to put to move forward on this very quickly, before this fiscal year ends, to come back and have conversations with the committee and move forward. That's what our plan would be.
Perfect. Yeah. Whatever you guys need from us, we're ready to roll. Thanks, guys.
Thank you very much for coming.
Any other questions? Luke, did you want to make
No,
any
I was just I've heard Chris's presentation a couple times, and as he indicated 2 days ago, I sat with the Warwick School Committee and the City of Warwick, and they're going to be moving ahead with this too. I think it's a responsible thing to do, especially we're going through budget cycles. There's limited areas where we can capture some funding, and it's low risk. OER is no cost to provide the assistance. So I think reaching out for that help is warranted at this point. And what I like about the process is it's market driven. We're not directing how the solar has to go. We create the framework and let the vendors come in and tell us what they can do. How can they achieve our goals? So I think for us it's a moderated process where you can make decisions along the way. So I'm excited about it. We have had a meeting on it, and I'm looking forward to moving ahead.
Cool. James, any questions? Comments?
Not yet.
Not yet. Anything from the public before we move on? Thank you so much for coming before us and talking to us. We look forward to working with you. Okay, moving on to number 10, which is a second reading of our certified and non-certified administrative compensation schedule. Are we ready to move on this? Yes? Okay, Mr. Florio, did you want to make a motion?
Madam Chair, I make a motion to dispense with the second reading of the certified and non-certified administration compensation schedule for new hires policy as presented/amended.
Second the motion?
Any questions from the committee? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Chair votes aye, any opposed? The ayes have it, motion carries 4-0. And finally, is there a motion to adopt the new policy?
Madam Chair, I make a motion to adopt the certified and non-certified administrators compensation schedule for new hires policy as presented/amended.
Second the motion?
Any questions from the committee? Anything from the public on this policy? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Chair votes aye, any opposed? The ayes have it, motion carries 4-0. Moving on to 11, which is the rescinding of number 3293, purchase of school supplies by students policy. Was our reference number 4? Did anybody want to speak to this? Either from the policy subcommittee or Mr. Levis? Did you, either of you?
Well, I can.
Okay.
So, during our review, during a subcommittee meeting of current policies in the book, and I do this every time, this thick.
Yes.
We came across this policy, which seemed grossly out of date and probably illegal. So it's time to rescind it, get it off the books, and
Right.
I did read
Wipe
it and
the
say,
slate
wow,
clean.
I didn't even know it was
Well,
there.
I think the part that says legal right of principal to require
I know.
a student to purchase school supplies, and
Yeah,
I
that was
felt like this
unbelievable.
was, yeah,
Wow.
so
Yeah.
its time has come.
Yes. All right, is there a motion?
Madam Chair, I make a motion to rescind policy 3293/purchase of school supplies by student policy.
second the motion?
Any further comments or questions from the committee? Anything from the public? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Chair votes aye, any opposed? The ayes have it, motion carries 4-0. And moving on to the second rescind on 3280.1, donations to school groups policy, and I assume it's the same rationale as the last one, or pretty close to it?
Just add a piece to it. So this basically says any donation must be pre-approved by any non-school groups. And what we thought was we could rescind this policy, but I think it could be beneficial to put an agenda item on, with the permission of the chair, that if we get, certain types of donations, that we would just put it on as an agenda item and we could report it at a school committee meeting. As opposed to a policy, correct, Mr.?
Yeah,
thought
report
there
it as
was.
in, we want to recognize people who are making significant donations to our school system, if
Yeah.
they want to be,
Right.
I seem to remember, is there another policy in the book about donations?
there
No?
could be.
I think there is,
Again,
because
covered.
I seem to think that there was something about donations to some sport things. I just remember that we did allow it, or actually there was something passed, maybe even.
So we've talked about Title IX. That's where some of the issues have come
Something
up,
came
that
up.
we've got to make sure that any donations, any funding to groups needs to be equitable, and that's something we have to look at, so that if somebody just wanted to donate $1 million to football, that could be a violation of
Right.
Title IX. So I remember having those conversations, but as far as this policy goes, we feel that we don't need to have this policy, and we can address it by putting on the agenda donations. And
I think it was a donation to fix one of the gym floors at one point, and so there was something that we had to pass, but I can't
I don't
remember.
know.
Likely, it could have been naming of a school.
Could have even been that, I don't know.
I seem to remember something about that.
It was something, yeah.
If I find it, I'll let you
Yeah,
know.
okay. That being said, is there a motion?
Madam Chair, I make a motion to rescind policy 3280-.1, donation to school groups policy.
Second the motion?
Any questions from the committee? Anything from the public? All in favor?
Aye.
Chair votes aye, any opposed? The ayes have it, motion carries 4-0. Moving on to 14. Yes, we're on 14, discussion of our approved 2019-2020 school calendar, which was our reference number 7. Mr. Levis, did you want to take that?
Just quickly, and I know that there are other committee members that may want to talk about it, just, we based our calendar, and if I apologize if I misrepresented, but we based our calendar and on past practice, on the recommended calendars. Let me start by saying, this year, RISA recognizes that there are 2 different calendars being put forward, and they are going to be pulling together a subcommittee of superintendents to make sure that this doesn't happen again. So that was something that came out of A. So that's important for everybody to know. B, for the last 10, 15 years, it has always been on Patriots Day that week. And I had gone to an executive board member meeting and asked, and that was what I was told. We also have, we received a call when we were doing the calendar from Mr. Cowart that RIDE was concerned with some districts when they were doing putting their calendars forward, because College Board sets SAT dates at a certain date, and they are setting a date. They set a date for April 14th. And some districts were scheduling the calendar. Don happened to be at a meeting at RIDE and called back and said, hey, because the other date that they're scheduling the SATs for prior to that is like the first week of March. And so when we're putting all this emphasis on our test scores and we're holding people accountable, to miss 30 some odd days of instruction for our students who are taking the SAT would be significant. And I don't see how other districts can justify it, but they are. Thirdly, something that I didn't bring up before, but I was reminded by a colleague, is that we approved a field trip to Europe next year. 85 students are going on based on high school students, based on that week, because that's the week that we've always taken. So I know that there's some concern that maybe people are concerned about now, but I'm concerned about, there's a time when you have to look at historical. And, while other people may feel pressure, I feel like this is in the best interest of students, and that's why we made the decision. I'd also reached out. Situate, who sends us the most students in Exeter West Greenwich, have the same week that we do. I also had conversations with the Green School, where we have 42 students go. They have the same week that we have. So, and I was gonna, like I said, I wanted to ask the committee, and you feel free, or you don't have to, but how many people, because I've received three people have reached out to me. One of them was the email that everybody in the committee, I believe, received, and then I had 2 other emails, and I gave them this response. So I feel like if we're really here for students and the best interest of students, and in fairness too, and I want to put Ms. Aronakis on the spot, but I understand that we have 400 some odd teachers, and that she and I did have a conversation about this before I brought it forward. So, and again, I'm not trying to put Ms. Aronakis on the spot, but I feel like I did due diligence going through this and sharing. So that's all that I want to say about it, and I'll turn it over to you, Madam Chair, and the committee if they want to discuss it.
Okay, I guess we'll just go down the line. Mr. Florio, did you have any comments, concerns, questions about the approval?
No, Madam Chair.
You're good. Mr. Murray?
Yeah, I think I just did express the concern, and I did talk to the superintendent about this. When I've received 3 inquiries, and one of the inquiries, the first one, I did check, and my understanding on the first one was that we had a published schedule from RISA that we were going by. And I understand that was probably an oversight. There was a little bit of an assumption that was the case. It was discussed, I guess, in the meetings. And then as I have dug a little deeper, I talked to Superintendent Sense, and it's based on a data and rationale. This isn't an arbitrary decision. We have a significant amount of CTE students, the field trip to Europe, the SATs, I mean, all this stuff. We're not, my concern was we're not living in a box, because it was pointed out that, I think at the time, it was 14 other school districts have decided to go another way.
Right.
So if Coventry's the outlier out of all those, and I think there was 8 pointed out that are going sort of on our side.
Pontigansett is making a decision this week. I actually had breakfast with Mr. Barnes Saturday morning. He showed up to our 6 a.m. breakfast. Who'd figure?
Wow.
And Mr. Anderson did not, of course, but don't quote me on that.
Lucky with the bill.
So anyways, but he was there, and I know that they're making a decision this week. And you're right, there is a lot of political pressure. I feel like we made the best decision on our students. And, I think the disclaimer here is that RISA recognizes that this is a problem, and we're pulling together, we're pulling together a subcommittee to make sure that this doesn't happen again. So that's,
Yeah, I think it's natural as any parent, somebody's going to get inconvenienced, right? As long as we're basing this on a foundation, which it sounds like we are, I have to back the administration on that. So my concern was rooted in, honestly, the sort of chaos that RISA created a little bit by not putting a firm stake in the ground and saying, this is it, or nobody weighing in at a state level, which I think should happen. I think we all think that should happen, right?
It just doesn't. That's the reality, unfortunately.
So beyond that, I won't say, I think, moving forward, we'll just try to stick on the same schedule for next year.
Well, I mean, I think what we have to do, and again, as I stated, is that we need to make the best decision for our students. And I feel just the 14th, the SATs, the committee can choose and be swayed by pressure or whatever, but, we have all this pressure. I hear it all the time. There was a town council member who said, your budget's on operations. Well, everything we spend money on, which is mostly our staff, because that's all we have the funds to do, is about improving student performance. And so if we would neglect 30 days of instruction or close to 30 days, I feel like, to be honest with you, I feel like the other districts need to be accountable about that. How can they justify having their kids take SATs, which we are evaluated on? People are going to look at our SAT scores. And if you see how people, and I've reported this in the testing, when students took SATs, when our students are taking the RICAS, and if you look at the reports going on, people are really taking our testing very seriously, which wasn't maybe always the case. So we definitely need to support that. So that alone, I think, would be significant enough for us to have a conversation about. But like I said, all that other data, I know I just shared tonight. I didn't have it before about the 85 students going on a trip. I forgot all about that. That was brought to my attention. So I agree with you that we need to make decisions in the best interest of our students and data driven. But I do believe this time this decision was made that by, looking at data.
Cool. James, any comments?
I love data. I don't have any concerns. I received I guess we all got the email.
Yeah, I think we all did, yeah.
Or forgot. I don't have any concerns with the calendar as approved. I think my only question to the superintendent is, at the time, is to make sure we're, aligned with, again, best decisions based on various factors. I think I asked about transportation in particular.
Right. And so just, yes.
Well, let me finish, sorry. As long as we're aligned, I'm fine. So
okay.
You don't have to.
All right.
Okay. Anything from the public before we move on? Looks like we're good. I'm perfectly okay with what we approved as well. So moving on, number 15, which was our reference number 8, the Commissioner's guidance letter on field trips. And I assume, Mr. Superintendent, you want to take that?
I'll take it, but I'll also ask Mr. Pearson if he doesn't mind jumping in to clarify, because we just met with Mr. Anderson. Pardon?
I said it is a policy.
Well, we met with it's actually guidance or advisory from the commissioner, former commissioner, I'll say.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
So a couple things. Mr. Anderson and I had, as soon as this came out, we had a conversation. Ms. Andrews and I had a conversation. We talked to Mr. Anderson, and for moving forward, his recommendation for this year at least is anything that's in the pipeline that we support and that we do status quo. But we definitely going to have to look at it with the committee and some of the options that are on the table that he put on the table. Where one is we can, there's a school committee that's just saying we're going to ignore it, right? That's one option. Another option is that we can do what Charahoe did, and we can say we're going to have what they do is one field trip per grade up to grade 6, and it's budgeted, and everybody does the same field trip, so we could do that. Personally, or professionally, I don't know how we can do that because we couldn't afford to do that. The third option is we could ask for donations. So we could write on our field trip and ask, and I have a sample here, I just was handed it, but from Narragansett, I can pass it down. This is a field trip, they're going to the Rhode Island State House, and they put up top, cost $5 per pupil, we are accepting voluntary donations. And so they ask for donations, and whatever doesn't come in, the district or somebody makes up, right? And then there was a fourth option, which is evading me right now, Mr. Pearson. Do you remember what the fourth?
You disassociate the field trips
from
the
the
school department
school.
altogether.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. So that means, so
it can't happen during the school
it can't
day.
happen during the school day. Teachers can't during,
You can't, because they're going to be part of the
Right. So there's a lot of it that I think that we don't agree. I'll speak for myself that I don't agree with. And I think it's more a conversation. So tonight was just to bring that forward to the school committee. And then knowing that we're gonna have to look at it more in depth with the policy subcommittee and work with our administrators and finance and take a look as what can we live with? And, you know, Mr. Anderson, and again, I don't want to speak for him, but he had some strong, you know, thoughts about, for instance, there's parts of the advisory that dictates what we can do with teachers. And Mr. Anderson was saying to us that he feels that, A, some of it's contractual, B, some of it's the decision that I would make and present to the school committee, ultimately you would make, that it isn't in the purview of RIDE to make that. So we have a lot more conversation, but I'm comfortable. I don't know how the rest of the committee is. Let's, you know, and that's the advice of Mr. Anderson. And like I said, Mr. Pearson was there for the meeting to be status quo and what's in the pipeline now. For the remainder of the year, we have, what, 5 weeks, 6 weeks left, and then we'll
Figure it out.
address it and work and come up with something that we need to, that we can live with, that everybody can live with. And, you know, the community's going to have to understand that this is what we're going to do, and we have to make sure we clearly articulate that. You know, we've written a lot of policies, but we also see that some of the problems that we're having, that I'm having, is in terms of the implementation, making sure that everybody is clear about the policy, even if we have a meeting and we go through it. You know, so this is something that we're really going to have to spend some time on, but do something fairly quickly too. So.
All right. I don't have any questions. Are there any questions from any of the committee members?
I don't think it's a question, just making sure that we're gonna look at other districts, just see what everybody, do an inventory of what everyone else
Yeah,
is
so,
sort of approach. And I appreciate the fact you've already done some research on it.
well,
Yeah.
and just, you know, the policy subcommittee, and I know you're new to our process, but when we do policy work, we always look at other districts. I mean, A, why would we want to reinvent the wheel? Figure, Mr. Anderson brings forward 7, 8, 9, sometimes different districts. We do a research. Sometimes I'll bring information. Mr. Pearson will bring information. You know, Dr. Dixon, who's still part of the council. So we definitely look at others. And then at the end of the day, Mr. Anderson has to sign off because he's our legal counsel. So we do a lot of, like, and I said today's was our 70th meeting in less than 3 years. So that's pretty significant because we've done a lot of work, and I appreciate the work that Mr. Pearson's done and Dr. Dixon and other you know, administrators that have come and parents have come and groups. So, but we definitely do that. We definitely don't live in a vacuum here. I don't believe we do. So.
Anything from the public on this particular issue before we move on? Yep.
I would just ask that when the committee looks at it, to remember that right now it's simply guidance,
Right.
not regulation.
Mhm.
And my fear is it started with political movement in East Greenwich,
Mhm.
and the political movement's going to turn on the kids. So the district is never going to be able to pay field trips for all kids.
No.
Right.
What the district does a very good job of, in my opinion, right now, is for those children that cannot afford, we pay for them. I would hate to see kids never be going on field trips. And it's going to be a challenge. The commissioner also said in his, not in his written guidance, but in his verbal, in the interviews that we had, that the district should be paying for all AP tests. That's 30 grand.
I saw that. I know, I saw that.
Next is going to be prom.
I know.
If the district doesn't pay for prom, does the kid never have a prom?
Mhm.
So I would just encourage you to realize that right now it is guidance.
Yep.
It is not regulation, it's not test reports, and before we take everything away from kids that we know will never be able to fund in the district, that would be a horrible K-12 experience for the child. I just ask you to consider that it's not a regulation.
Yeah, there are other school districts that are taking that stance of, it's not a regulation. The former commissioner's opinion is just that, and they're going to ignore it, and that will be something we consider. Whether that's what the outcome is or not, I don't know, but that's definitely on the table.
I look at things like the commissioner's opinion letter to Thomas.
Oh, yeah, it's opinion.
Things like that worry me because opinions not based in real legislation aren't very enforceable. So
Right.
Before we create another mountain
I
in
agree.
front of
Just the
of
fact
us.
he was trying to meddle in collective bargaining is kind of amusing. He has no authority to do that, so I
Right.
don't know. It's funny. So,
So thank you
Mr.
for that
Wagner.
comment. Yeah. All right, and I guess we can go on to 16, the superintendent's report. You're on the hot seat again. Mr. Levis?
I'm hot, but I don't consider it a hot seat.
You're in the hot seat.
Hot in terms of
I know you keep,
temperature. I
you
wouldn't
keep,
qualify
you
that,
keep
right?
going, you keep using a fan here.
I'm
I
hot.
know.
So good news is on our school safety that we have put in the strobe lights, I believe, in all of our buildings successfully, and I believe that another item was the fire panel at the middle school, Mr. Lucian, right? Did they install that? Is that?
They did not install it because they were worried if they ran into complications, that they weren't gonna be able to fix it. They didn't wanna, have school left.
Concession.
Okay.
Concession.
But we have the,
Everything's
Yeah.
in, they're
Ready to go.
okay,
Makes sense.
okay. So that'll be taken care of, and then we still have to, the other item that we have to work on is, looking at our, intercom systems. That,
Right.
and remind Mr. Murray, I wanna give you a copy of the Secure City report. I'll email it to you. That we had, this low-grade, company come in and look at all of our security systems, so, but we did, I think we did have a meeting, Ms. Mangiarelli, is that correct? We talked about it with Mr. Martin, so, hopefully soon I can come back and report that this has been taken care of. And I believe we're using our impact fees for this.
The intercom system, the strobe lights, and the fire alarm all in place to be used with impact fees. The issue with the intercom system is that we had thought that it was the state vendor that was going to be going through all the answers that they were. We checked,
They weren't, yeah.
So that could hold up because that will now require a bid process, which could just delay it into the next fiscal year.
But,
We won't lose those.
right. I think the positive aspect of that, though, is that there's new technology. So we have a system that, I don't say it's an archaic system, but to repair it, the quotes we have was quite expensive. And in that Secure City report, they talked about technology, like, we were looking like $100,000 just for the high school, I believe. And they talk about systems that we could do that are about $40,000. So it gives us an opportunity to really look at those systems. So that's a positive. So that's the school safety, and I think we all saw about how successful, and I might have mentioned this before, but the police department, Lieutenant Matt Blair, I believe, kind of facilitated it, but working with the West Warwick SWAT team, the fire, they did a really successful tactical drill at our high school. And again, I want to reiterate, I think that's important for the community to know, especially with what's going on in our world today. So they're very familiar. Last year they did it with Mr. Lucian in the middle school, and this year they've done the training with at our high school with multiple scenarios. So I think we're very fortunate, very blessed to have that type of relationship with our first responders, and I wanted to highlight that. I think that's important for the community to know. The second bullet on my superintendent's report is, and it's reference number 9. This is just an example of we apply and we work with Department of Ed on a lot of, we get a lot of little mini grants. Again, our teachers do the work, our administration does the work, and this was an example of a mini grant. We've talked before about kindergarten and now moving to first grade, this Boston pilot project. And so we received about $8,000. We had to apply for it. We sent our teachers out because, doing something new can be challenging, can be fearful, and you want to do something new if it's going to benefit you. You don't want to waste your time doing something. So I know we sent a few teachers out, I think, from Hopkins Hill.
We sent teachers from Hopkins Hill and
Western?
And Western. No, not Western. Hopkins Hill. They went to Foster Elementary School because they're implementing the kindergarten project, like the first grade version. So it's the first grade project. They're the only community in the state using it. And now RIDE has gotten behind it, and they're helping to fund it. And this is the first cohort of people to do the first grade part. So we sent an administrative team to Foster, and then we sent a teacher team to Foster. And the Hopkins Hill first grade and the Western first grade both showed interest in piloting the first grade project. So they're going to do that. And then Washington Oak has some teachers that wanted to try the kindergarten project. So they're expanding from Hopkins Hill. Western was already on board, and now we have some teachers at Washington Oak. So we were able to get, it was really 2 grants. One was for the expansion to Washington Oak, and the other one was the two schools. And the two schools were both schools that had pay projects, so it's 2 years of that instructional practice, and it gives us an opportunity to look at the data over a number of years versus just sitting in 1 year, because the model is built on the instructional practices, materials, and how to provide instruction to the students.
So for me, it was just, I wanted you to see an example of, you know, just how we partner, that this was not a top-down. This is something we think is important, but we want to get buy-in from our educators, and I think the process and the way that they work, both, you know, Mr. Cowart, the building administration, the union support, our educators, so we get complete buy-in. And then we'll have some really good data to make some decisions moving forward. At some point, we may have to make a decision. This is the way we're going to go. But, I just want to put that in there because this is something that I think the community needs to know. We do this all the time. I talked about this before, we have this school climate transformation grant that we were one of 9 districts to receive it from RIDE. They received like a $2.5–3 million grant. Our high school has agreed to work as part of this, and on May 23rd, there are 3 individuals going to CLE to participate. So, and this is really looking at when we identify students that are struggling, both behaviorally, I think this is going to be predominantly around behavior. What's our process? How do we intervene? You know, what are our tiered support strategies, and how do our teams look at data and make informed decisions for students? And we've committed to doing that work, but also sharing that work with RIDE and with the other districts. So these are things that are significant, you know, on top of, you know, having Teachers of the Year and Milken Award, you know, like there's a lot of quality work that goes on at all levels. And I just wanted to highlight that. And I know most of the people here are work for the district, but I think it's important for the community because the greatest resource we have is our staff. You know, that's where, you know, that's where our money goes. But here's just another example of the work that they do, you know. So I wanted to highlight that.
If I could add, we get anywhere between 3 to 5 of these mini grants every year from the Department of Ed. You know, we all collaborate and work on them together. We usually use a Google document. We all put into it. We all kind of tweak it together, then we submit it. And any of those grants could be as little as maybe $3,000, or it could be as much as $12,000. But those are dollars that don't hit the local budget, but they allow us to do PD, they allow us to buy materials, and they allow us to sort of explore some different options that we maybe wouldn't do if we didn't have the opportunity to get the grant.
They supplement the work, the fundings that we do have. So I just wanted to, again, not so much in the weeds about the grant, but I think it's important for the committee and the community to see that here again is another way that we operate and work collaboratively. So that's that. And then the last part is, so obviously on May 16th we have the all-day forum, and before that on the 14th we have the all-day referendum. I'm sorry, and the financial town meeting. And this is, and I promise I'm only going to take 3 minutes here, so somebody can time me. Thanks, Don. But here's the thing, as superintendent, I really struggle. You know, Mr. Anderson's a phenomenal attorney. I think we all agree we get incredible advice. But sometimes he gives me advice I don't want to listen to, I don't want to follow, and I don't want to hear to. But then when he tells me I'd be breaking the law, I have no choice. And I think under the current times, with what's going on financially in the community, some of the rhetoric, let me this is my personal opinion, okay? I'm not able to use resources. I can't send out an email and tell people what I really think because it's using resources, and I would be campaigning, according to Mr. Anderson. I can't send a strong letter out because I would put it on my letterhead and I'm the superintendent and I'd be using resources. But he did say if I state that this is my personal opinion, that I can say my personal opinion. So for the next 2 minutes and 30 seconds, I'm going to share my personal opinion. So today, last night at 11:30, I was sent an advertisement that was put in a local paper. And the advertisement targeted, you know, this is my opinion, targeted the schools, gave misinformation about what our budget is, stating that we're going from $104 to $108 million. And it makes me just reflect. First of all, it's complete, I don't know the term, bogus information. I guess that's how I'd speak personally, It's bogus information. It's not factual. And at the core of me, I believe that this community truly cares about education. I truly believe that. And you saw it tonight, like what we presented tonight with the unified sports, the program that's going on that are unified Okers. Looking at these students, that there are many people in this room that have worked with those students going on to college to become educators. I feel as like the CEO of education in Coventry, I need to, we need to bring back, I need to find a way to bring back respect to this profession, and I was saying this, and some people have heard this a bunch of times, and I know like a minute and a half I have left, but my great-grandfather was blessed to have 1 year of education. He was born in 1886. He went to school until first grade. In first grade, he was pulled out because he had to work in a mill at 7 years of age. Now, I knew him as Pepe. His name was Pete Audette, but he was always missing his ring finger because evidently in Dodgeville or Hebronville Mills where he worked, they'd blow a whistle. That one belt would start the whole entire mill. And this was a mill that was like a half a mile long in its day, or, almost a quarter of a mile. Then they'd blow the whistle again when it would stop. And so he said to me, like, they blew the whistle, it was supposed to be 10 seconds before the machine started, or whatever it was. His hands were tiny, so they had little kids going in. He used to clean inside the gears, right? 7 years old. And evidently he didn't hear the whistle. He lost his finger, right? And 7 years old, he lost his finger. His uncle and his dad that worked in the mill didn't want to deal with his mother. So he's in a cart. They go back and they go to a little local bar and they tie one on so they go back and they can deal with the mother. But his whole life, he just said, like, he always said, like, he worked in those labor in the mills till he couldn't breathe anymore because he had some asbestos stuff in his lungs. His whole purpose was to make sure that his kids, like, that's his sacrifice, so his kids could have a better future. His kids, they had 4 sons, 3 of them served in World War II. One of my uncles didn't speak about what he experienced in World War II until he was 86 years old and knew he was dying. And he told me he's 17 years of age, lied about his age going in, and he was in Italy, and he remembers lying down with his gun less than 30 yards away. There's another young guy, and he said this was his life, that if he didn't kill that person, they were going to kill him. They're both young people. And his brother was in some type of special forces. He was an officer, and he was one of the first Americans to come across a concentration camp in Eastern Europe. And he never spoke about it. My relatives spoke about it, but my Uncle Ed never spoke about it. Their son was in Vietnam, and he never again experienced all these atrocities and things, and he never spoke about it. My children's great uncle was in a death march in Korean War. And he marched 30, and we know this from history, he marched about 30 miles. And what happened is when they fell to the side, that the Koreans would go, and there was a sergeant, his name's Tiger, and he was a infamous sergeant for the North Koreans, and they would put a bullet in his head. And the point of this argument is saying, where am I going with this, right? Every single generation has sacrificed for the future generation. Right? And my relatives, and my Uncle Ed and my Uncle George would say all they wanted was their kids to have an education so they wouldn't have to experience what they did. And now we're in a position where I don't think my generation, and a lot of these people that we see that are pushing against, maybe education in this community, I understand taxes are high, and I understand the fire district, I understand the sewer, but people sacrifice their lives for them to be able to do what they're doing today. We're asking people just to commit to funding education for a better future. That's all we're doing. And it blows me away that people that have benefited probably more than anybody else from this community take such a stance on education. I don't understand it. And obviously, I'm not going to. I don't have the long history. But on the 16th, we're going to see the value of education because we've talked about this. It was in print. I didn't receive one call. We talked about double sessions. Double sessions means there's no sports, no athletics. No athletics across the board. And even doing that's like $700,000. And I'm not doing this scare tactic. We committed that we would not use scare tactics. But when somebody puts a full-page ad and says a lie that school's $104 million, I want to tell the truth because obviously people didn't hear it before. If the budget gets voted down, and I don't know, we've had conversations, I don't know how many layoffs it could be, 30, 60, 90, I have no idea. And that's not a scare tactic. We have to do, law says, we have to cut $1.5 million before June 1st, because that's all we have. And you saw last year, it was the last thing I want to do was sit there, the microphone, and have everybody come down and, you know, with all due respect, every union member stand up and 600 people in the audience. Like, that is not fun. That is not why I got into education. That is not why these 7 individuals today are going into education. But I look at it, it's our responsibility, your responsibility as elected officials, because I'm going to be counting if this doesn't go through. I need 3 votes, right? We're going to need 3 votes because it's going to be disastrous. So I don't know what else to say. This is my personal opinion. I'm going to clarify that again. But this is somebody, one of my colleagues shared like Armageddon. That's the term they used about next Thursday. Because if it doesn't pass, maybe the town has till July 1st. We don't. We have to make decisions by June 1st. You know, I don't get it. I don't understand. I'll be honest. You know, people sacrifice so much for me to be able to do what I do. And I pray to God my children never have to see what my great uncle. I didn't even mention I have an uncle that I never met. He died in 26. He was in Okinawa, Japan, because of the Korean War. He died in a commercial airplane, but I know it destroyed my dad's family. Destroyed. And he wouldn't have been there if it wasn't for the Korean War. People lost their lives, sacrificed their lives. Vietnam has destroyed people's lives, and they don't even know why they were there. We're asking people to invest in the future, to invest in our children. And again, that's my personal opinion. I apologize for going over my 3 minutes, but you know, I hope that people come out and do what they feel is right, and I believe this community truly cares about education. But we will see on the 16th. I don't know why some people don't care about the future for their children, especially when their children benefited from what we do. But so that's my my spiel. So just reminding everybody on May 16th, it's an all-day referendum.
Are there any comments about the superintendent's report from any of the school committee members? Dave? Questions?
No, he said it all.
Okay. Mr. Murray?
No, it was well said. Nothing to add.
Mr. Pearson?
I'll ask later.
Okay.
It was about a previous item, and I don't want to change the topic because the all-day referendum is too important. So stay on that.
You're 100% right. It's 100% important, and I appreciate Mr. Levis's remarks, and I concur with his sentiment. And I hope whoever is watching this meeting will, in fact, go out and do their civic duty and vote in this special referendum. And I am hopeful that the budget that we did, in fact, put forward will, in fact, get passed by this town, and that people will support education, as well as our town in general. I'm very hopeful for that. That being said, are there any comments about any of this from the public? Yes, we do.
Good evening. My name is Linda Rika Sloan. I am not a current resident of Coventry, but I am a product of the Coventry school system. I know many of you. I went to Blackrock Elementary, junior high school, Coventry High School, and I would say I am a success story. And I am a product of the investment that people before you made into our school system. I am currently an attorney. I serve on the West Greenwich Town Council. I'm being interviewed for a judgeship next week, and I am proud of the person who I've become, and it is because of the wonderful school system here in Coventry that I love. I was honored a few years ago to become a Alumni Hall of Fame member from the Coventry High School Alumni Association, and it was one of the most meaningful things to me, because I remember fondly my years in the Coventry public school system. I don't understand how we ended up in this place where people there's no grassroots movement. There isn't people that go out, other than taking an ad in the reminder, stirring up people to come and support the school budget. I don't understand that. And I'll tell you something that happened to me last night. You probably read in the paper that we had in West Greenwich a town council meeting, and we were asked to vote to become a Second Amendment sanctuary. I was the lone vote against that. And I have to tell you, it was really difficult for me to go to that meeting because I walked up, we had to move the meeting to the school auditorium because we knew there was going to be a lot of gun supporters. So I walk up to the auditorium, and outside there's probably about 20 people wearing yellow shirts, gun supporters. I go into the auditorium, and there's probably about 100 people wearing yellow shirts, gun supporters. I had the opportunity to call in sick and not go to the meeting because I know I live in the town of West Greenwich. They're gun lovers. I knew this resolution was going to pass, but I felt it was my obligation. I'm an attorney. I am sworn as a town council member to uphold the laws of the state of Rhode Island. And if the governor passes a law, I cannot say to my chief of police, ignore the law passed by Governor Raimondo and look the other way because I happen to sign your paycheck, Chief Ramsey. So I did a difficult thing, and I stood up for what I thought was right. It was uncomfortable, and I had to be escorted to my car. So I say that story to you because sometimes we have to do difficult things, and sometimes you have to vote on a budget that is going to increase taxes in your town, and it's uncomfortable, and you're probably going to get some hate mail. But you do what's right. You got to do what's important. You are the school committee. That is your job. You do things that are uncomfortable, and I'm sorry. I'm going to get some hate mail, and I actually said to my husband, I said, you know, we're probably going to get some vandalism at our house. We might get a BB gun shot through my window, but I don't think that I could hide from this issue. I felt like I needed to say it, even though I knew it was going to pass regardless of what I said. It was moot, but you have to do hard things in life. So I know you're all in support of the school budget because you came up with the school budget, but I say this because, as our chair said, to anybody who's listening to this, you need to ask other people to come out and vote and come support the school system so that you have other successful graduates like me. I'm doing well. I'm a productive member of society. These kids need you. They need this budget to be passed, and that's all I have to offer. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Anything else from the public? All right, and I guess we are ready to schedule our next meeting.
Citizens' comments on that?
Oh, I'm sorry. Citizens' comments, I guess I've asked so many times, I figure there's not going to be any comments at this stage, but please, if there are any citizens' comments, please feel free to come forward. Seeing none, we can schedule our next meeting. I know it's Thursday, but I think our next meeting really is Tuesday, but should we just go with the Thursday? I don't know.
Sure call.
Yeah,
Why
I don't
you
know what
make
you
the
guys
big
want to
bucks?
do. The schedule, yeah, go ahead.
Madam Chair, I make a motion that the next meeting of the school committee be scheduled for May 14th. What day is that?
Tuesday.
Tuesday, May 14th at
Believe it's
7 p.m.
7 p.m. at the
Coventry High School Auditorium.
Coventry High School
Auditorium.
Coventry High School Auditorium. And okay, that's one motion.
which is the FTM.
That's the FTM.
Okay.
So I make a
We
motion.
could probably add to it that our next regularly scheduled meeting for the school committee will be on our typical school committee
And
meeting.
that the next regularly scheduled school committee meeting, next meeting of the school committee be scheduled on Thursday, May 23rd at 6 p.m. at Coventry Town Hall.
All right.
Great, thanks. Is there a
Second
second on that?
My amended motion.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Chair votes aye, motion carries. And I have, looks like 8:52. Is there a motion to adjourn?
Madam Chair, I make a motion that the meeting be adjourned at 8:52 p.m.
Second the motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Chair votes aye, motion carries 4-0. Thank you.
Thank you.